Hello guys and welcome back to the Expensive Coins History channel. There is something powerful about a coin that has survived more than half a century in silence. A small piece of copper, barely noticeable in a jar of loose change, yet carrying with it decades of American history. When you hold a Lincoln cent in your hand, you are not just holding 1 cent. You are holding the face of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of endurance, resilience, and strength. And when that coin was struck by the United States Mint in Denver in 1960, marked with that small but powerful D, it began a journey that very few collectors truly understand. The 1960 D Lincoln cent is often overlooked by casual collectors. Many men between the ages of 35 and 65 remember seeing these coins in circulation as children. They remember buying candy, gas, or a newspaper with loose change that included this very date. Back then, it was just another penny. But today, the story has changed. The year 1960 was a moment of transition in America. The country was stepping into a new decade filled with industrial growth, Cold War tension, and technological ambition. Every coin struck that year carries the quiet energy of a nation preparing for transformation. But within the millions of coins produced in Denver, something special happened. Subtle differences in die preparation, strike quality, and mint mark placement created variations that now command extraordinary attention. Collectors who understand coin grading know that condition is everything. A 1960 D penny that has spent its life rattling around in pockets will not command attention. But a sharply struck example with blazing red luster, flawless surfaces, and a crisp mint mark can become something entirely different. It becomes a contender. It becomes an investment-grade coin. It becomes the kind of piece that serious collectors compete for behind closed doors. When you examine a high-grade 1960 D cent under magnification, you begin to notice the sharpness in Lincoln's hair, the clarity in the lettering, and the strength of the strike on the reverse wheat stalks. The Denver mint mark, positioned just below the date, tells you where it was born. That small letter D transforms an ordinary penny into a specific historical artifact. And in rare cases, when preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, this coin crosses into a different financial category entirely. What makes mature collectors pay attention is not hype. It is scarcity in condition. While millions were minted, very few survived in pristine condition. Over decades, coins were mishandled, cleaned improperly, or simply worn down by circulation. The number of examples that remain untouched, vibrant, and fully original is dramatically smaller than most people realize. Men who have spent years building collections understand this principle deeply. They know that rarity is not always about low mintage numbers. Sometimes it is about survival rate. Sometimes it is about how many perfect examples remain. And when auction records show extraordinary results, it forces even experienced collectors to look twice at a date they once ignored. Imagine finding a 1960 D Lincoln cent in an old family coin jar. Imagine taking the time to inspect it properly instead of dismissing it as common. The thrill is not just about money. It is about recognition. It is about understanding that something small and overlooked could carry serious value. That feeling resonates deeply with seasoned collectors who appreciate the discipline of paying attention. Now consider this. In exceptional, nearly flawless condition, a 1960 D Lincoln cent has reached a value of $113,000. That figure is not attached to average coins. It belongs to the highest tier of preserved examples. It represents the top fraction of surviving pieces that meet strict grading standards. It represents rarity within abundance. For many viewers, that number changes everything. It forces a reevaluation of what sits quietly in drawers and storage boxes. It reminds us that knowledge separates ordinary from extraordinary. Two coins may look identical to the naked eye, but under professional grading, the difference can be life-changing. There is also an emotional dimension to this coin. Lincoln's portrait has been on the cent since 1909, making it one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. The 1960 D is part of that long legacy. It connects the early 20th century to the modern era. It bridges generations. Fathers handed these coins to sons. Grandfathers stored them away without realizing what the future market would decide. When you speak to collectors in their 50s and 60s, many will tell you their journey started with pennies. It was the most accessible entry point, And sometimes those early collections are still sitting untouched. That is where opportunity hides. The key is not excitement alone. It is careful inspection. Look at the color. Is it bright red, or has it turned brown? Look at the surfaces. Are there scratches or contact marks? Examine the mint mark. Is it strong and clear? These details separate a standard example from one that can command serious attention in the marketplace. The 1960 Lincoln cent teaches an important lesson. Never underestimate common dates. The marketplace rewards condition and originality. It rewards patience. It rewards those who resist the urge to clean or alter a coin. Many high-value coins were once dismissed as ordinary. For men who appreciate tangible assets, coins offer something unique. They are physical. They are historical. They do not rely on digital systems. They can be held, examined, and stored securely. And when a coin like the 1960 reaches six-figure territory in elite condition, it commands respect. This is not about chasing fantasies. It is about understanding possibility. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a six-figure collectible can be invisible without knowledge. That is why awareness matters. That is why examining your coins carefully matters. If you have a 1960 Lincoln cent, do not rush. Do not clean it. Do not assume it is worthless. Study it. Compare it. Consider professional grading if it appears exceptional. Because in the rarest cases, that small copper disc could represent something far greater than face value. And remember the number, in top-tier condition, the 1960 Lincoln cent has achieved $113,000. Now we move forward 9 years, deeper into a decade that reshaped America in ways few could have predicted. The year 1969 was not quiet. It was intense. It was bold. It was the year of the moon landing, a moment when the United States proved its technological dominance to the world. And while astronauts were walking on the surface of the moon, millions of small copper coins were being struck quietly at the Denver facility of the United States Mint. Among them was the 1969 Lincoln cent, still bearing the steady profile of Abraham Lincoln. To the average person, it looked no different than any other penny. But to the experienced eye, to the collector who understands nuance, this coin carries a different kind of energy. BY 1969, pennies were composed primarily of copper with a small percentage of tin and zinc. They had weight. They had substance. When you hold one, you feel it. There is something solid and reassuring about pre-1982 cents that modern zinc issues simply do not replicate. That physical weight matters to collectors. It signals durability. It signals longevity. The Denver Mint produced a massive number of Lincoln cents in 1969. On paper, nothing about the mintage screams rarity. And this is where most people make their first mistake. They confuse high production numbers with guaranteed abundance in top condition. Those two things are not the same. Coins enter circulation immediately. They collide with other coins. They are tossed into drawers. They scrape against keys. They endure decades of friction. And over time, even a coin struck perfectly at the mint begins to lose its original brilliance. What survives after 50-plus years in pristine, untouched condition becomes a different story. When you study a high-grade 1969 cent under magnification, you start to notice the importance of strike sharpness. Look at Lincoln's jawline. Look at the fine detail in his coat. Observe the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. On the reverse, examine the wheat ears and the spacing between letters. A weak strike or worn die can reduce clarity, but a fully struck example, preserved in blazing red mint state, stands apart. Collectors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s often appreciate coins like this because they represent a connection to their youth. Many remember the late 1960s vividly. It was a period of transformation, challenge, and ambition. Owning a flawless coin from that year is like preserving a small, metallic time capsule. But beyond nostalgia lies the reality of grading. Modern third-party grading standards are unforgiving at the highest levels. The difference between a coin graded 1 point higher or lower can mean tens of thousands of dollars. Surface marks invisible to the naked eye can limit a coin's potential. Color consistency matters. Luster intensity matters. Even microscopic abrasions matter. What separates a six-figure 1969 D cent from a common 1-cent piece is perfection, or something very close to it. Very few coins achieve that level. Many were stored improperly. Some were cleaned, destroying their original surfaces. Others were exposed to humidity, causing discoloration. Time is not kind to copper. Serious collectors understand patience. They understand the long game. When an extraordinary example surfaces, one with vibrant red color, virtually no contact marks, and razor-sharp details, competition can become intense. Auction rooms grow quiet. Bidders focus, because they know opportunities like that do not appear often. There is also a psychological factor at play. The 1969 D is a date many people assume is common. That assumption creates complacency, and complacency allows hidden gems to remain undiscovered in private collections for decades. The smart collector never assumes. He verifies if you have a jar of old pennies at home, coins inherited from family members, or a childhood collection stored in a box. It is worth taking a closer look. Examine the 1969 D coins carefully. Tilt them under strong light. Look for vibrant original red surfaces. Avoid coins that appear dull brown or heavily marked if you are searching for top-tier potential. Now let's talk about what truly captures attention. In extraordinary, near-perfect mint state condition, the 1969 D Lincoln cent has achieved a value of $99,000. That figure belongs to elite examples that meet strict grading standards. It does not apply to worn or average coins. It applies to the rare survivors at the top of the condition census. For many men watching this, that number shifts perspective. It transforms a penny from pocket change into a serious collectible asset. It reminds us that value is not always visible at first glance. Knowledge reveals what others overlook. There is discipline in this hobby. It rewards observation. It rewards respect for originality. It rewards those who resist shortcuts. Cleaning a coin may seem harmless, but it can destroy premium value instantly. Preservation is everything. The 1969 D Lincoln cent stands as proof that even during years of high production, extraordinary value can emerge from condition rarity. It is not about chasing myths. It is about recognizing the difference between common and exceptional. So if you come across a 1969 D cent, pause. Do not dismiss it. Inspect it carefully. Consider its color, its strike, its surface quality. Because in the rarest cases, that coin could represent far more than 1 cent. Remember this number clearly. In elite condition, the 1969 D Lincoln cent has reached $99,000. Now we step into the late 1970s, a very different America. Inflation was rising. Gas prices were climbing. The economy was under pressure. But even during uncertain times, the presses at the Denver facility of the United States Mint never stopped. Coins continued to roll out in massive numbers, feeding commerce across the country. And in 1977, once again, the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln stared outward from millions of copper cents. To most Americans, this was simply another year, another penny, another ordinary transaction. But history has a way of quietly separating the average from the exceptional. The 1977 D Lincoln cent is a perfect example of how time transforms perception. Men who were teenagers or young adults in 1977 remember that era clearly. They remember working their first jobs, filling their first gas tanks, buying their first cars. These coins passed through their hands daily without a second thought. But what if one of those coins, overlooked for decades, now holds extraordinary potential? The Denver Mint struck an enormous quantity of cents in 1977. On the surface, that seems to eliminate rarity. But seasoned collectors know that mintage numbers only tell part of the story. The real question is this: how many survive today in pristine, untouched, flawless condition? Copper is unforgiving. It reacts to air, darkens, spots. It develops carbon flecks and discoloration. Even coins that were never circulated can degrade if stored improperly. And in the 1970s, few people were carefully preserving rolls of cents in climate-controlled environments. When you examine a high-end 1977 D cent, what you are searching for is originality. The color must be vibrant red, not faded, not brown, not artificially altered. The luster should radiate when tilted under strong light. Lincoln's portrait must show sharp detail, especially in the hair above his ear and the lines in his coat. The mint mark D must be clear and well-defined. But here is where things become serious. At the highest grading levels, perfection becomes microscopic. Tiny contact marks invisible to the naked eye can separate a coin worth hundreds from a coin worth tens of thousands. A small tick on Lincoln's cheek, faint mark in the field, a slight weakness in strike. These details matter. For collectors in the 35 to 65 age range, there is something deeply satisfying about understanding these fine distinctions. It is not gambling. It is not speculation. It is analysis. It is the discipline of looking closer than everyone else. The 1977 D cent teaches a powerful lesson. Common does not mean worthless. Over time, most coins are damaged, mishandled, or lost. The survivors at the very top of the grading scale become scarce by default. They become the last remaining examples of what the mint originally intended. There is also the psychological element of the 1970s copper era. These cents still contained substantial copper content before composition changes would occur in the early 1980s. They feel solid. They carry weight. They represent the final chapter of a more traditional era in American small coinage. When an extraordinary 1977 D cent surfaces, blazing red, sharply struck, virtually flawless, serious collectors take notice, because they understand how few truly elite examples remain. They understand that once such a coin enters a long-term collection, it may not reappear on the open market for years. Imagine finding a 1977 D cent tucked inside an old bank roll, preserved accidentally in near-perfect condition. Imagine sending it for professional grading and discovering it ranks among the finest known examples. That moment is what drives seasoned collectors. It is the possibility of uncovering hidden quality in plain sight. Now let's speak clearly about value. In exceptional, top-tier mint state condition, the kind that represents the absolute highest quality survivors, the 1977 D Lincoln cent has reached $71,000. That number is not attached to average coins. It belongs to elite examples that meet strict grading standards. It represents the rare intersection of survival, preservation, and demand. For many viewers, especially those who lived through the 1970s, that figure forces a pause. It challenges assumptions. It reminds us that the difference between pocket change and serious money can be measured in microscopic details. The key is knowledge. The key is patience. If you own 1977 D cents, do not rush to judgment. Examine them carefully. Look at color, luster, strike, and surface quality. Never clean them. Cleaning destroys originality and can eliminate premium value instantly. The 1977 D is not about hype. It is about condition rarity. It is about understanding that even during years of massive production, true perfection remains scarce. And remember this number carefully. In elite condition, the 1977 D Lincoln cent has achieved $71,000. Now we step back slightly to 1971, a year that carried a different kind of weight in American history. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. The financial system was shifting as the United States moved away from the gold standard. The country was adjusting to economic pressure and global uncertainty. And through it all, the steady image of Abraham Lincoln remained unchanged on the 1-cent coin produced by the United States Mint. The 1971 Lincoln cent, without a mint mark from Philadelphia, is one of those coins many men remember seeing constantly. It was ordinary. It was common. It was forgettable. And that is exactly why it deserves attention today. Because sometimes the most overlooked coins hide the most surprising potential. In 1971, production numbers were extremely high. Millions upon millions of cents were struck and released into circulation. On paper, that suggests abundance forever. But history tells a different story. High mintage does not guarantee high survival in elite condition. Think about how coins lived their lives in the 1970s. They moved from hand to hand. They sat in cash registers. They were dropped onto concrete floors. They were stored in metal containers where they scraped against each other for years. Over time, the original brilliance that existed the moment they left the mint faded away. Copper, especially, is vulnerable. It reacts to air and moisture. It tones. It spots. It darkens. A 1971 cent that looks brown today may have once been a blazing red coin in 1971. But time is ruthless. So what separates an ordinary 1971 cent from one that commands extraordinary attention? Condition. Absolute, uncompromising condition. When you examine a high-grade 1971 Lincoln cent under magnification, you are looking for intense red color. Not faded red, not brown red, but true, vibrant mint red. You are searching for clean, undisturbed surfaces free of contact marks. You are checking Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and coat for even the smallest abrasions. You are inspecting the fields for microscopic disturbances. At the highest grading levels, a single tiny imperfection can change everything. Men who appreciate craftsmanship understand this mindset. Whether it is restoring a classic car, evaluating a fine watch, or building a collection of rare coins, the principle is the same. Excellence lives in the details. The 1971 cent also represents the final decade before the copper composition would change in 1982. That gives it a certain nostalgic weight. It feels substantial in the hand. It has the warm tone of real copper. It represents an era before cost-cutting measures altered the very feel of American coinage. Collectors in the 40 to 65 age range often find themselves drawn to coins from this period because they connect directly to personal memory. They remember earning these coins. They remember saving them. Some even remember setting aside bright examples without realizing what the future market might bring. But here is where discipline matters. Not every 1971 cent is valuable. In fact, the vast majority are worth only face value. The difference lies in preservation and grade. Only the finest known examples, those that have somehow survived untouched, uncleaned, and nearly flawless, enter the realm of serious value. When one of these elite coins appears at auction, it does not create chaos. It creates focus. Experienced collectors recognize rarity in condition. They understand how difficult it is for a 50-plus-year-old copper coin to retain perfect surfaces and blazing color. And when that rarity meets demand, prices rise. There is also something symbolic about the 1971 cent. It represents resilience. A coin that has survived decades without losing its original integrity mirrors the mindset of the men who value it. Steady, durable, disciplined. Imagine going through an old box of coins inherited from a father or grandfather. Imagine discovering a roll of 1971 cents that were set aside and forgotten. If even one of them remains in extraordinary condition, the potential is significant. Now let us speak clearly about the number that commands attention. In exceptional, elite mint state condition, the highest tier of preserved examples, the 1971 Lincoln cent has reached a value of $87,000. That figure is reserved for the finest known survivors. It does not apply to worn coins or average, uncirculated examples. It applies to those rare pieces that meet the strictest grading standards. For many viewers, that number changes the way they look at their collections. It reminds them that overlooked does not mean worthless. It reinforces the importance of careful inspection and patience. If you own 1971 Lincoln cents, handle them properly. Do not clean them. Do not polish them. Store them safely. Examine them under strong light. Look for full red color and minimal contact marks. Because in rare cases, the difference between 1 cent and tens of thousands of dollars can be nearly invisible. The 1971 cent proves that even the most common-looking coins can surprise those who take the time to look closely. Remember this clearly. In top-tier condition, the 1971 Lincoln cent has achieved $87,000. Now we arrive at the final coin in this journey, 1979. For many men watching this, 1979 does not feel like ancient history. It feels recent. It feels familiar. Some of you were already working full-time. Some of you were raising families. Some of you were building businesses. And during that year, millions of Lincoln cents were once again struck by the United States Mint. Carrying the unchanging portrait of Abraham Lincoln. By 1979, the Lincoln cent design had already been part of American life for 70 years. It was dependable, recognizable, almost invisible because of how common it seemed. And that invisibility is exactly why this coin deserves a second look. The 1979 Lincoln cent represents the closing years of the traditional copper era before the composition shift in 1982. It still carries that solid copper weight. It still has that warm tone that collectors appreciate. But here is what makes it interesting. By the late 1970s, coin handling and storage habits had not improved significantly. Most coins entered circulation immediately. Very few were preserved intentionally in flawless condition. When you hold a 1979 cent today, you are holding nearly half a century of history. Think about that. This coin has survived recessions, stock market crashes, technological revolutions, and generational shifts. Yet most examples you find today show clear signs of wear or environmental damage. Copper ages quickly. It spots. It dulls. It reacts to humidity. That means a 1979 cent with blazing original red luster and virtually no surface marks is far more difficult to find than most people assume. Now let's focus on what separates the average from the extraordinary. In elite condition, a 1979 Lincoln cent must display full, vibrant red color. Not brown. Not red-brown. True mint red. The surfaces must be exceptionally clean, with minimal contact marks even under magnification. Lincoln's portrait must show crisp detail, especially in the hair and facial features. The fields must be smooth and undisturbed. At the highest grading levels, perfection becomes microscopic. A single tiny tick on Lincoln's cheek can drop a coin out of the top category. Slight discoloration can eliminate premium value. The standards are unforgiving. For serious collectors between 35 and 65 plus, this level of precision is not intimidating, it is appealing. It is analytical. It is disciplined. It separates hobbyists from professionals. It transforms coin collecting from casual interest into strategic acquisition. The 1979 cent is a powerful reminder that age alone does not determine value. Condition does. Preservation does. Survival does. Imagine this scenario. An old jar of coins has been sitting untouched in a garage or closet for decades. Inside that jar are dozens of 1979 cents. Most are worn. Most are ordinary. But one, just one, was somehow protected from friction and air exposure. One remained vibrant. One remained nearly flawless. That single coin could change everything. When an elite 1979 Lincoln cent appears in the marketplace, certified at the very highest levels of mint state preservation, it draws attention from experienced collectors who understand just how rare that level of quality truly is. They know that as time passes, copper coins rarely improve. They either remain preserved or they deteriorate. Now let us speak directly and clearly about the numbers you have been waiting for. In top tier, extraordinary mint state condition. The 1960 D Lincoln cent has reached $113,000 at the 1969 D Lincoln cent has reached $99,000 at the 1977 D Lincoln cent has reached $71,000 the 1971 Lincoln cent has reached $87,000 and the 1979 Lincoln cent has reached $64,000. These figures represent the highest level of preservation, the elite survivors that meet strict professional grading standards. They do not apply to average circulated coins. They apply to the finest known examples. So what does this mean for you? It means knowledge matters. It means you should never dismiss a coin simply because it appears common. It means the difference between 1 cent and tens of thousands of dollars can be measured in condition, color, and microscopic detail. If you have old jars of pennies, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls stored away, it is worth taking the time to inspect them carefully. Look for strong red color. Look for sharp details. Avoid cleaning at all costs. Cleaning destroys value instantly. The Lincoln cent has been part of American life for generations. It represents stability, continuity, strength, and in rare cases it represents serious financial potential. Sometimes wealth hides in plain sight, and sometimes it is sitting quietly in a 1-cent coin. If you would like the next video script to focus on rare Lincoln cents or another group of hidden value coins, tell me which coins you want to cover next.